Hello, welcome to Post Colonial Space. I'm Masood Raja, and as you can see, I'm still on my vacation. Behind me is Ohio River. But I thought I should take a few moments today to respond to another question by one of the subscribers to the channel. And I think this question kind of relates to all of us, and it's about, what techniques or methods can we all develop to read scholarly articles more effectively. Now, reading, as you know, is essential to becoming a scholar or to being a good student. There is no shortcut to it. But most of the times when we read some highly sophisticated articles by people like Baba and Spivak and others, we find them baffling, and it's really hard to get through them. So while there is no shortcut to it, there are certain practices that you can develop to better understand such academic articles. First and foremost is to keep in mind that a single reading is not going to do the job. You will have to read, let's say, Can the Subaltern Speak, multiple times. In my case, the first reading is always about trying to figure out what exactly is it that they are saying. What is their main idea or thesis that they are trying to assert? So in my first reading, I try to figure that out. Literally, like I highlight it. Okay, this is what she is trying to say in this essay. In the second reading, I try to go deeper into whether or not they are entering a conversation. By that, what I mean is, are they responding to some previous work, or are they responding to some assertion by another scholar? There will always be a hint in the beginning of the essay where the essay will place itself. So you mark that. And you go and read that. Because if this essay is a response to a previous essay, you need to know what that essay was about in order to understand this essay. And then you see, okay, this is what he or she is responding to. And then you find out which particular points in that essay are the ones that are points of contest, and that this author whose essay you're reading is trying to either challenge or to expand, right? And you cannot do that without reading the essay which is being responded to. The third important thing is to mark in an essay any philosophical references, theoretical references, vocabularies that an author uses or a scholar uses. Don't gloss them, mark them and look them up. See, what does Spivak mean when she says the intending subject, right? You can't just pass over it, because that's how you will develop your knowledge. So for example, in Can the Subaltern Speak, when she invokes the term the intending subject of the West, obviously it's a reference to what? Phenomenology. What is phenomenology famous for? That we as intending subjects intend the world around us, right? That's like me simplifying it. So you mark every single moment where a philosophical reference is there, where a philosophical allusion is there, or a word, a loaded philosophical or theoretical word is used, and you go and look them up, right? What that will do is two things. It will enable you to read the essay that you are reading and understand it better, right? But it also will increase your own repertoire of philosophical terms and philosophical ideas, so that the next essay that you read, you bring that knowledge with you. So that's really important. Then sometimes, authors while writing, they throw out historical references. Like if you've read Orientalism or watched any of my lectures on it, remember he would mention some British generals, some campaigns, right? Some historical figures from Egypt without unpacking it. That's where you and I come in. We go and look them up. Who was the mad mullah of Sudan, right? What's his history, right? Who were the people against whom Kitchener was fighting? Now, it may not be necessary to understand Said to know these things, but obviously he's using these names as historical examples within the discourse of Orientalism, so knowing them, of course, will be a better thing to do. So you started with the surface reading of the essay. You tried to figure out what is it that a scholar is arguing. You tried to figure out whether or not they are responding to someone. Then you go and read whatever they are responding to. If they are referring to someone, you go and try to figure out at least what is it that they are citing or referring to. Then you look at the theoretical and philosophical vocabularies that they employ and then try to learn more about them, right? And after you've done all that and you finish your fourth or fifth reading of an article, you would roughly reach a point where you could claim, yes, I think I understand it, right? But the larger impact of that would be that as you read more and more scholarly articles, your vocabulary, your understanding of theory and philosophy will keep expanding. And I think that's how people like us, people who go to blue-collar programs, people who are not from privileged universities, that's how we learn and then learn to teach and explain and write at that level. So these are some of my thoughts. Now, previously I had already kind of shared my thoughts as to how to read a scholarly book. This kind of falls into the same category. But the most important thing to keep in mind is that we all struggle through highly sophisticated, esoteric, and sometimes abstruse scholarly works. Our knee-jerk response is to resent it and just call these people armchair scholars or like too smart for us or they don't know what they're saying. That's a knee-jerk response because we expect them to write at our level. I think a more sophisticated and a more generous response would be, okay, Spivak, Baba, this is the level at which you write, that's the level of your thought. I'll try to figure you out. I'll try to read you carefully and see what I get. Now, don't underestimate the value of secondary sources about theoretical works, about articles, because any guides, those comic book guides on theory or anything that sells itself as a guide to reading Homi Bhabha and Spivak, those are also written by scholars. And there is no shame in using that. I have myself used those, like one on Foucault, one on Derrida, because, if the purpose is to try and understand things better and try to learn them better, any help that you can find is worthwhile. So these are some of my thoughts on how to read academic articles carefully in order to understand them better. I hope these are useful to you. Just let me know if I missed anything or if you have any other suggestions, post them in the comments. Please also keep in mind that I now have a permanent video which calls to you to share your questions with me, queries or suggestions. It shows up right at the top of recommended videos playlist on the landing page of the channel. Whenever you feel the need to send me a general question, a question that's not particular to one single video, just post your question there and I'll try to record a response to it if I have the expertise in the subject. That's all. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you're staying safe and taking care of each other. I will now see you next time. Until then, as always, peace and love.